Live from the heart of Baylor Bear Country, the most comprehensive pre-game coverage. This is Game Day Live, powered by Sikkim 365 and KWTX News 10.
And here we go on this Saturday, and what a night, what a day in college football. Madness in certain ways, and Houston and Texas Tech and Lubbock are going back and forth, about to go into second overtime. There has been overtime. There has been madness. There have been top 10 teams in trouble who survived and some that did not. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, join me. David Smoak. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX, CBS in Waco and all throughout Central Texas as we bring you Baylor football pregame. And before we get to all of that, wow. You know what today to me proved? That the preseason polls are a fraud.
Well, there's always a Saturday that does that, and this just happened to be the second full Saturday of college football that did. We saw gritty performances from Texas in a loss. We saw an inexcusable loss to A&M to App State. You can't do that if you're expecting to compete for national titles. No offense to App State. They played a wonderfully coached game, but A&M's got to win that thing. We've seen back-and-forth games in Tennessee and Pittsburgh. Tennessee wins, and just all over the place today.
Yeah, been a great day. It's almost like imaginary numbers that are based off just recruiting classes and headlines in the offseason don't determine how good a team actually is before they played a game. I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's almost some flawed logic with having preseason polls and saying this team's number 6, even though we're basing this off of what they did last year and all of the changes that have occurred. So the only reason they do that is for basically talking points and also for TV networks, is to say we've got number 5 versus number 10 in week number 1, even though it's very clear multiple top 10 teams are not top 10 teams. They're in some cases probably borderline top 25 teams, but man, sure got to talk a lot of smack and sure got to, pump up that ranking that you didn't really deserve the last 2 weeks if you were some of these teams. And, now reality sets in.
We will hear from Travis Roeder on the keys to the game for Baylor and Brigham Young tonight in Provo. We'll hear live from Darby Brown momentarily. She is in Provo. In fact, let's go to Darby Brown right now. Darby Brown in Provo, Utah. Darby, thanks for your time. What's it like? Set the scene for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you guys, it is awesome. And I have Chris Williams behind the camera here so that he can really set the scene for you. But you walk out of the tunnel, it's not really even a tunnel, it's open. And then these mountains behind us, it is an awesome scene here in Provo. And it's pretty unbelievable, or maybe believable based on what we've heard about this atmosphere. But the kids are already here. The BYU students are already in the stadium, and we're about 2 hours and 15 minutes away from kickoff. So safe to say they are ready to roll out here, and it is a great scene. I'm very excited. I got a lot of energy. It's been a long day, but we got a lot of energy walking in here for this one.
Darby, I know a lot of Baylor people made it out. Have you seen a lot of green and gold in Provo?
Yes, so on the flight out here, it was a lot of Baylor people, so there definitely are some Baylor fans traveling for this game. I saw a few out there, and there's sort of tailgate activities going on outside the stadium, so I do think that there are a good amount of Baylor fans, although I'm going to be honest, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to make because it's a pretty blue sea out there so far.
Darby, do you think with all that's gone on, I mean, I know you guys have been busy, and I'm sure the Baylor football team's been busy, just in kind of getting ready for this, but if there was a Saturday to get a little bit of a heads up on not taking anybody for granted, it sure seems like this would be one for a top 10 Baylor team.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I was taking my, during the flight nap, and I woke up to see the end of that Texas game, the last 20 seconds for Alabama's field goal. But, I thought that Texas was going to pull that one out. And then, like you guys had mentioned in the opening here, A&M going down. So no kidding. You can't take anybody for granted. And it seems like there's some bad vibes out there for Texas football team. So I'm sure Baylor will be ready to play tonight. And, hopefully they haven't paid attention too much to that. But definitely they got to come in here ready to play.
Darby, we hear about the altitude. Now, I know that you've been moving around doing quite a bit. Now, they hear about the altitude. You got to get used to it. You've been there for just a little bit. Do you even feel that at all yourself?
I haven't really felt anything yet. The sun feels stronger. I feel like I was in the car over here. I felt like I was getting a little bit of a sunburn, but obviously it won't be too sunny later tonight. So I haven't felt it yet. I feel like maybe it takes a little bit of time to feel it out here. But I also have just been, lugging some camera equipment maybe and not actually getting ready to play a football game. But hopefully the guys have done, there's certain training you can do for that with the way you train with certain oxygen and things like that. So maybe they've done some work with that, I would hope.
No Gunnar Romney, no Puka Nacua tonight for BYU. How much do you think that affects the game, and what's the key for Baylor?
I think that affects the game pretty greatly. I think the key tonight is establishing the run early and then also stopping the run. And that's going to be, magnified tonight with them losing their key receivers. They're going to be all over the ground. So I think Baylor's got to be really aggressive, really physical tonight. And if they can get out to a faster start offensively on the ground, I think that'll help them out. And then they got to do anything they can to slow them down on defense.
Darby, it is a road game. There is a huge passion for BYU as well. Do you get the sense, based on the week that was with Baylor, that Dave Aranda has been talking about going into the storm, and they have many of these tough road games, that this team is ready for this one or any game now on the road this year?
I think they are. And I think I say that because they were talking about that at Big 12 Media Days, that they knew they have a lot of crucial road games this year. And I remember one of his key statements was, we have to be ready to take our show on the road. And I think they're talking about that in, when was that, July? I think by now they're ready to put that out there and prove that they've actually been working on that. And it is going to be key this year. They got to prove that they can come into tough environments and win crucial games. So I think they're ready for it. And it's very exciting that we get to see this sort of test this early.
Tell Chris we said thank you. We thank you as well. We look forward to hearing from you later on here in a little bit from Provo, Utah. KWTX Darby Brown with Chris Williams here on 365 Sports at our pregame show. Baylor and Brigham Young will kick off. It's late. It's going to be a 9:15 kick, 8:15 Mountain Time, and we'll lead you up until quite a bit, 8:30 today, with the show that we have. We will hear a little bit later on from Kalani Sitaki, head coach at BYU. But let's get back into some things. Second overtime, Texas Tech is down 3. Houston settled for a field goal. Texas Tech had a 3rd and 20, or was it 4th and 20, and converted in the first overtime, scored, and then now they have the ball with a chance to win it outright in the second overtime. We saw that Alabama-Texas game, but this game with Houston and Texas Tech has been nuts as well. Just one of many games today that has been amazing, scintillating in college football.
Yeah, the Kansas-West Virginia game going on at the same time, and Tech just won.
Yep, Texas Tech on a Donovan Smith, right? Scramble up the middle, just won that game straight up in double overtime. Joey McGuire with a huge win at home against the Cougars.
Yeah, Houston's got to stop playing games that go extra frames for their fans' sake. They're 1-1 in overtime games this year, but that was giving up that 4th and 20 pretty much sealed the game to me for Joey McGuire. I think that once you do that.
Oh, come on, Tech. Are y'all rushing the field? Oh, okay. I don't know if that's the whole stadium. Man, they are pumped up about this one. That's a great win for Tech, and they just tore down the goalposts.
No, they're lowering the goalposts.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, I mean, I can't see the couches halfway up the screen, so I can't see the whole thing.
They're making sure that it doesn't get torn down. But the fans are storming the field.
Yeah, the fans are storming the field, so they're enjoying this one. And, great win for Tech. I don't know if it stormed the field great, but this is early on in the McGuire era, and that's his first top 25 win, so there's a reason for it at least. And, yeah, I mean, that was a great game. Houston, credit to them. They were in a dogfight last week, and they are able to come back from being behind in this one. Looked like they were going to potentially get, blown out of the building early on, and they fought back to force 2 overtimes. So hopefully the Cougs are able to get a little bit of a breather. But, yeah, that 4th and 20, man, I mean, they had that. They had the game sewed up, and they gave up a 4th and 20 pass, and Tech took advantage of it. So great win for the Red Raiders. Brutal loss for Houston, although they showed a lot of admirable traits in that one.
Yeah, do you get to storm the field in a game you're favored in?
Well,
that was why I kind of reacted. I did. I got shouted down about it, but that's kind of what I.
Well, I didn't. Here's the thing: you have a new coach. Yes, you were a bowl team, and there's just a lot of excitement, and they're just, sure. It's a top 25 team. It's a team that there's a little bit of a rivalry with, and there's a lot of anticipation. And here's another thing: they came back to win this game. Then they had the lead and blew it, and then came back to win this game. And I think there's just a lot of emotions tied up. Should they storm the field? Heck, it's up to them. It's their field.
Well, look, this isn't exactly Michael Crabtree catching that pass.
No.
And I get it. Look, Tech fans do not, in their history, and I'm not trying to dog them here, but it's a fact, there are not a lot of signature moments in that program. That are big ones that the whole country remembers.
Well, that one is as big as anything. It kept Texas out of a national championship.
The Crabtree thing is, yes, but I'm talking about after that, what's the second one?
There's a few.
Well, I mean, this isn't one either. So,
yeah,
I mean,
they beat Oklahoma one time at home.
Bogging down on that part of it. I just was commenting as I watched this half screen I was kind of surprised by that. But good for them. Good for them. Do whatever you want to do. Congratulations.
33-30 in double overtime. And again, they convert a 4th and 20 in the first overtime. Iowa State did what they had to do against Iowa. Snapped a 6-game losing streak. Just score 8 points. They scored 10. They win 10-7 over the Hawkeyes. It's been a while, 6 years with that.
Tried to throw it away multiple times. Absolute garbage first half from the Cyclones. Looked like a team that was seeing daddy and was cowering and making every mistake imaginable. I mean, just embarrassing the way that they were appearing to have just, cratered in front of their big rival. It's like, here goes Iowa State again. Just typical. Iowa doesn't even need to score 14 points to win this game, but to Iowa State's credit, this time they were able to, overcome those mistakes and overcome some just brutal points in that game and overcame a really good Iowa defense as well. I mean, there was some brutal moments like in the red zone and just turnovers and they overcame that. So that's a great win for Matt Campbell. If they had lost that game, my gosh, I don't know how you'd have explained that one away because that Iowa offense is absolutely atrocious. It's an embarrassment to college football. Said that last week. I'll repeat it again because it's true. I don't know what you do. That's Brian Ferentz that's running that offense, so that complicates things. But that is a disgrace what they've got going offensively. And so that's why I thought Iowa State had to win that game. Like, how could you not win that game and score enough points? And they almost didn't, but they did. So that's a big win for them.
Tough loss for Pittsburgh. It's not a Big 12 game, but they were beaten by Tennessee 34-27. A couple of other Big 12. Let's get into that Alabama-Texas game, and we're going to eventually get keys to the game for Baylor-BYU and also hear from Kalani Sitaki and our thoughts about Baylor and BYU as well. That was a heck of a game. It was something that you wish and sometimes you don't see enough of. I never had a doubt. I didn't think Texas would win the game, but I knew that for whatever reason they would play really, really well against Alabama, and they did. Alabama was undisciplined. They kick a field goal. Bryce Young saves them with 2 fourth-quarter drives, and they escape winning 20-19. And they at times looked like it was over.
Yeah, I think, if Quinn Ewers finishes that game, it might be different, but I don't want to revisit that again.
Oh, my God, 10 years we're going to hear about that like Colt McCoy, which was a national championship game.
But, yeah, it is. I mean, you can see the differences between Hudson Card and him, but Hudson Card was limited himself and played a really gutsy game. That was the first time I think we've seen a really gutsy performance from Texas in a long time in a game they're not favored in. They hung in there. Alabama committed a ton of penalties. That is going to drive Nick Saban bonkers.
15 penalties, and there are probably 2 or 3 that they got away with.
Yeah, well, I mean, and then you get away with things, but Alabama getting 15 penalties on them is bad. I mean, it's just really, really bad. So
the safety that was not a safety on the targeting roughing the passer call was just trash.
I'm surprised Steve Sarkisian didn't go for it on the field goal they missed from that was a 20-yard kick
at the end of the half.
Yeah, at the end of the half, but. They had them where they wanted them.
Well, you kind of just mentioned something that's not getting mentioned nearly as much as all the penalties and all of the overlooks. But, yeah, that was obviously a missed field goal in a game like that. You lose that tightly. That was a big play. That was a big bad moment for them when you look back on it now. But, yeah, there was lots of questionable calls or no calls in that game. I do think Texas has a bit of a gripe in some ways. I don't think this is Alabama national championship several years ago, Colt McCoy necessarily, but Ewers started off really well. Mm-hmm. I mean, he looked like he was just going to slice and dice Alabama, and maybe he would have. Maybe Colt would have won a national title, but I don't know. It's not about maybes. It's about what actually happened. So that's another big maybe for Texas that they can hang on to. But the one thing that they can, certainly hang on to that's not, I think, going to take away from what they need to think about moving forward, because you can't really linger on we should have beaten Alabama. That's over now. You got to move on, but you can feel great about the fact you just went toe to toe with them and you went 4 quarters slugging back and forth with the best team in the country on paper and arguably, and you were nearly successful in doing so. And sure, it was at home, but you know what? And you did it without a starting quarterback who was looking pretty good early on. So, yeah, I think Texas has a lot to like. I think they need to get over the what didn't happen. That would be my advice because, it's like Sark said after the game, we didn't lose. We just ran out of time. I don't know about that. But, yeah, you've got a lot to like if you're Texas.
They played with guts. They played with passion. They didn't have just ups and downs of roller coaster emotions of fire. And they didn't win the game. Alabama, of course, I think the crowd got to them because it's first time in a decade that they've been on the road in a non-conference game. They play in front of big crowds, but that's a nice moment. Crowd, but Texas didn't finish it off, and Bryce Young, not a lot of stats, but he was huge in a big-time moment when he scrambled to set up the game-winning field goal. Travis Roeder will join us in the next segment. By the way, K-State hammered Missouri 40-12. Deuce Vaughn with a big game, 145 yards, 2 scores. We'll update the top 25. West Virginia, Kansas tied at 28 midway through the third quarter. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX.
Game Day Live on News 10 is sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Advanced Pain Care, and Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
Experience affordable luxury living at Case & Associates Properties in Waco and Temple. Enjoy a variety of floor plans with stainless steel appliances, vaulted ceilings, open floor plans, designer colors, washer and dryer connections, and so much more. See for yourself, stop by, and tour our property near you. The iconic Hewitt, Tuscany Ranch in Waco, Portico at Friars Creek and Temple, and The Bend at New Road in Waco. And take the first step into your new luxury apartment from Case & Associates.
Grassroots is a community builder through community engagement and homeownership. Our community engagement efforts seek to help neighbors connect, lead, and advocate on behalf of their community. Our homeownership efforts provide financial literacy, affordable home building, and home repairs that lead to the building of generational wealth.
We need $2,000 per family to provide matching funds towards purchasing a home.
I had bad back pain for more than 15 years and had multiple surgeries that didn't work. Then when I got the spinal cord stimulator, I felt like a new man. Thanks to the people at Advanced Pain Care, I can finally enjoy quality time with my family.
This reversible procedure works by blocking pain signals from the lower back and legs from reaching the brain. We've helped thousands of patients get relief, including myself. From Waco to Bastrop, there's a location near you. Advanced Pain Care, the pain stops here.
We're back again on KWTX, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Baylor and Brigham Young tonight, 9:15 to kickoff, 9:15 Central, 8:15 Mountain Time in Provo. Travis Roeder, Sikkim365.com football analyst, joins us with the keys to tonight's game for Baylor on the road. And Travis, obviously Dave Aranda throughout the entire offseason and fall camp has talked about the storm, running into a storm because they would have some. And I think obviously that has something to do with your keys to the game for tonight.
Yes, sir. I mean, I think really, what a fun day of college football this has been. I hope everyone watching has been able to partake in the glory that it's been today. App State taking down Texas A&M, among other things. But I think what it goes to show you is, any given Saturday and, the better team doesn't necessarily always win, because being better that day means you got to respond to the moment, whatever that moment entails. And so I think that's what I really got my eyes on, especially in this first half of this game. That crowd up there in Provo is going to be just absolutely rocking. They're probably going to have known everything that's happened so far this day, as far as how crazy the day has been. So they're going to be seeking to have their time in the sun, or under the moonlight tonight. I think that's what you watch for in this first half. As far as I expect there will be at least, hopefully not catastrophic mistakes, but there's probably going to be a few annoying mistakes and maybe a couple of really big ones. Maybe Baylor fumbles in a big moment, bad turnover, holding penalties, all that kind of stuff. But what I really want to see is that after one of those moments that can be a setback, that it just looks like it's water off of a duck's back. Move on to the next play. Don't let the moment subsume them and consume them. So I think, with how raucous that environment's going to be tonight, expect some mistakes, but I'm very curious to see how they respond, and I think Baylor's ability to respond is going to be very key to them when it's this game.
All right, so Travis, what are your keys to the game?
Well, brush off adversity was the one he just talked about. Number 2 was prevent big plays on defense.
Yes, sir. I think, who knows whether Romney and their star wide receivers, Gunnar Romney and Puka Nacua, are actually playing. There was a report by Pete Thamel last night that they'd be out. Obviously, those two have been kind of the engine through which they've been hitting big plays both last year and this year. And so that's a big loss for them if they're out. But regardless, I think BYU is known as a ground and pound team. But kind of similar to like Baylor, how, Baylor's been hitting those jet sweeps for long plays and big play action and stuff like that. They may not take a bunch of shots, but when BYU tries to get the ball out in the perimeter and tries to take those shots, I think, Baylor being sound is really key defensively, because, again, this ties into the moment. When you play defense, it's all about just doing your job. You can't try and, if it's not your job to make the tackle, but if it's just your job to kind of push the play back inside, you got to be willing to do that and let your teammate make the play. So I think you're going to see BYU try and get the ball out on the edges with some screens and some other kind of trick plays. And whether, Baylor is able to hold BYU down, I think in large part is going to be whether their defenders stay within themselves and do their job versus try and meet the moment. And sometimes when you try and meet the moment, that's when you end up failing.
So, Travis, your final key, what about the offense?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I put there that they need to be patient offensively. But I think it'll be interesting to see whether BYU comes out on defense and whether they're very, very aggressive from the get-go. Because who they've generally been as a team is a team that tries to sit back and make you march down the field. They try and kind of keep everything in front of them. And so if they play that style they've been playing, I think it's very key that, again, Baylor doesn't try and reach outside of themselves. They don't try and meet the moment by trying to force the ball downfield when the play is not there, but they just kind of take what's there. And I think that's really key for Chapin. BYU plays a lot of zone coverage where he'll just need to put the ball where it needs to go and not try and force the ball into multiple defenders. But the other option, of course, is that BYU comes out and says, hey, we're going to try and make things happen, get behind our rowdy crowd and play really, really aggressive pressure, blitz a lot. And in that circumstance, I think, the version of taking what the defense gives you there is to make a bunch of big plays. But I expect that they'll kind of try and play their standard stuff first off, which is, that more conservative style. And if they do that, I think it's very key that Baylor, again, stays within themselves, doesn't try and push the ball downfield if it's not there, and just takes what the defense gives them.
Travis, thank you. Every pregame, Travis Roeder will be here with the keys to the game, brought to you by Richard Carr Motors. And again, on Saturdays here on KWTX, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Go see the people you can count on. Proud alumni and providers of vehicles to Baylor coaches and staff for many years. Go see them on Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit or richardcarr.com.
By the way, Kansas leads West Virginia on the road, third quarter, 35-28. And Arizona State, and this is now early second quarter, 3-0 lead in Stillwater against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma early on, trailing Kent State 3-0. That game is in the second quarter as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX, CBS.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, back. KWTX, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Jack McKenzie, Garrett Ross behind the scenes, Craig Smoak. To my right, Paul Catalina. To my left, I'm David Smoak, and we're monitoring the games as they go. And, of course, Brigham Young, BYU, and Baylor today at 9:15. So, the Big 12, check off the list. Texas lost, played well, but lost.
I mean, now yours is out, 8 weeks, something like that, probably?
I have not seen the final report.
I thought I saw that earlier. That might have been just somebody guesstimating. I don't know that there has been a final report. But, yeah, I mean, a lot's going to depend on that that injury. And what's wrong? It doesn't appear that it was a broken clavicle. But, again, we haven't seen final word. So if somebody's got that, pass that along. But, yeah, that's going to be something to monitor moving forward because there was definitely a difference in Ewers and then what you saw from Hudson Card.
I tell you what Hudson Card did. He did like what Texas did. And Texas is not going to get wins and losses by gutting things out. They're too big of a name. No matter their last decade, you don't say we gutted it out. But Hudson Card, basically almost one-legged, got a couple of big plays for them. He's not as accurate and has thrown because Worthy basically became non-existent when Ewers came out of the game.
Yeah, let's see. Steve Sarkisian said that Ewers suffered a clavicle strain that require an MRI.
That's not 8 weeks, but if there is anything else that you've heard, Craig,
Twitter
I know you've
doctors,
but Texas, for the first time in their history, was kind of the little engine that could today.
Yeah.
I mean, it was weird to watch that.
Yeah, there was, the Sark thing with the whole, we didn't lose, we just ran out of time or whatever, and just some of the feelings well, if Ewers doesn't get hurt, we win that game. I get all that, and some of that's true, but, you're not a moral victory school. I'm sorry, you're just not. You're not a moral victory school when you're Texas. So, if you want to take some from that, absolutely, there's a ton of good to take from that, but the spinning of it as though, well, this only happened because this. No. You lost the game. No matter what happened, you still lost the game. But damn, you should be proud of the effort. That's for sure.
All right. So some of the reaction is that's one of the games. The other one that we haven't jumped into much is Texas A&M losing at home to Appalachian State. If you're an AD and a phone call comes into you and it's Appalachian State on the caller ID, Paul, what should you do?
Right to voicemail. I'll get back to you.
Hit the decline button.
Yeah,
right?
we're really booked out.
I'm going to say this. Haynes King, I know the family because of Longview and John. They're fantastic people who've had great success in Longview. But this isn't working. And that doesn't mean you have a better option. I know they have the kid from LSU, the older player from LSU, and among others. But
Max Johnson.
You don't get that kind of money and that kind of commitment, and you don't have that kind of NIL backing to lose at home to Appalachian State and struggle no matter how good at times Appalachian State can play.
Oh, no. And I just comparing Haynes King when he comes out of the field to just another big-time Texas quarterback recruited lately to Cade Klubnik, who we saw for a minute against Georgia Tech. There's an electricity when Cade comes in the game compared to Haynes King right now. And Haynes needs to either grab the electricity or sit back and learn a little bit longer, which I know he's not going to want to do, but that was really uninspiring today on offense for A&M. And it was uninspiring. They only gave up 17 points, but the defense could not also get them off the field.
Gave up over 200 yards rushing. Again, they have two weapons, Smith and A-Chain, right? Is that about it?
Evan Stewart's pretty good.
They have the freshman receiver,
not pretty
too.
good.
Yeah.
He was their best receiver, I guess, on paper. But, he's supposed to be very good over the coming years. He is their star freshman, that they were able to land. So I think you got to circle him as well. But, yeah, what do? You're going to roll Haynes King back out there against Miami? Is that going to happen? Or are you going to realize, you can't afford anything else as far as losses go? So you better put Max Johnson in there and just see what he can do. It can't be any worse. It truly can't. I know that the yardage and all of that doesn't always tell the tale, and it certainly doesn't today because a lot of the reason why they had low yardage was also because App State had the ball for so long and played keep away, which is brilliant strategy, especially when you're able to do it how they did. But, yeah, 97 yards passing, 89 yards rushing, and that's it. That's it. That's insane to me. So you have to make a move in my mind, no matter how much of that you want to chalk up to App State not allowing you to run a lot of plays. I don't think it would have been necessarily all that different had they had a little bit of extra time with the ball just because of the way that was kind of going. So, yeah, brutal loss. There's no spinning that one. There's no moral victory. There's no if this wouldn't have happened, there's none of that. Even, like Texas can at least hang on to a little bit. You don't pay Jimbo Fisher money to have games like this. I almost don't even have the right words. I know that it's not fireable, and I know that they're nowhere close to he's on the hot seat because I don't know that they could put him on there just financially from their perspective. But you've got to really, really just kind of wonder what the heck's going on right now because this is not where we were supposed to be at this point. We're not going to go into another offseason and trumpet a recruiting class and hope, potential, and put them in the top 5 to start the year and go gaga over them when it's all just really been lip service at this point compared to a lot of the other juggernauts that they want to be in the same category as.
And this is not just a Jimbo Fisher problem. This is a Texas A&M problem. This is what they have been for a long time.
They're now 1-1, headed to 8-4.
Yeah. By the way, here's from Barrett Sallee. Kevin Sumlin's first 50 games at A&M, 36-14. Jimbo Fisher's first 50 games at Texas A&M, 35-15.
Well, let me ask you about this, Barrett Sallee. You play the games so you find out who wins that day. You have games like Appalachian State who can beat A&M. Marshall, we haven't even brought that up, that beat Notre Dame, who's overrated. And it seems like last year they were good. We know that. But they're overrated. You have games like that, right? That's why you have the expanded playoff as well. Yes, most of them may end up being blowouts, even if they're Power 5 schools, but this is why you play the game, because otherwise A&M's 2-0 and Notre Dame is 1-1.
I can't take somebody serious who a week ago didn't want to, and I don't even want to say it like that because I don't know the guy from Adam, and I'm sure he's a nice fella. But a week ago, you were sitting there talking about how the party doesn't need to get any bigger because all these other schools don't really belong with the big boys, and particularly talking about the SEC. Yeah, I can see why you don't want an expanded playoff. You're afraid of that happening. You're afraid of that happening in an expanded playoff. So, yeah, I can see now. I see where the vantage point was. It wasn't that you really believed that. It's just that was, we're bigger, better than everybody else, and we don't want to see those other teams because they might show the world that this isn't exactly, what it was made out to be. It's a whole lot of marketing, and, yes, a lot of teams winning big games, but you can't just ride that logo. You got to go play the games when it's all said and done, and so that's why you play the games.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of people in the chat room are bringing up the teams like App State and obviously Marshall, teams in, the Sun Belt Conference, is that right? Sun Belt. And then there might be more games.
It's a reconfigured Sun Belt.
Number 8 in the country against the top 25 team in BYU tonight in Provo. We are going to hear from BYU football coach Kalani Sitaki. Had a chance to visit with him earlier this week on our show. And then also Blake Blackmar. What a great segment he has for us every week. Tailgating, ideas, cooking, recipes, and more. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sikkim Bears.
Home Place Interiors. From designer drapes to custom total installation, quality area rugs to a wide selection of floor covering, Home Place Interiors has you covered. With over 40 years of experience, you can trust John Proctor and his knowledgeable staff to help you with your next home project. Home Place Interiors, where we do business the old-fashioned way, on a handshake.
When storms damage your roof, there's only one place to call, and it's Montgomery Construction and Roofing. MCR offers detailed bids for affordable quality roof repair and replacement. Schedule your free inspection and make sure your damage is repaired right the first time. Our claim specialist can help walk you through filing an insurance claim for wind and hail, too.
Say goodbye to damaged roofs and yes to Montgomery Construction and Roofing. We roof Texas, and we are here to serve you.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sikkim Bears.
The KWTX Skycam Network, sponsored by Ray Broker Air Conditioning.
BYU head coach Kalani Sitaki is 49-29. He's a former fullback at BYU. He and Dave Aranda have run into each other before. They're very good friends. Aranda winning last year. Sitaki and BYU trying to figure out how to win tonight in Provo. Our conversation with BYU head coach Kalani Sitaki. And, of course, Kalani Sitaki, the head coach at Brigham Young, has spoken with us before. When all the news came down, they were joining the conference the week before they played Baylor, and also in the offseason. We have appreciated our friendship with him, and he joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Kalani, thanks for your time, Coach. You have a very seasoned and experienced team, and expectations are obviously very, very good. Do you like the way they've handled August and also your opening game route against South Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really proud with our team and just really happy about the leadership that I'm seeing from our players. And so, it worked out for game one. I really enjoyed the month of fall camp with them and seeing the progress that they made from practice one all the way leading up to the game against South Florida. And now we're home for this home opener against a really, really good Baylor team, the conference champs. And so just looking forward to the matchup. But I'm really, really happy with the boys and happy with the way that they're leading, happy with the way that they're connecting with each other. And I think that should happen when you have a lot of returners coming and a lot of veterans on the team. So just try not to get in their way.
A lot of guys on both these teams saw each other last year. Does that familiarity help or hurt, or is there like a balance there?
Well, I think there's a balance. I think we hope that we're different than the guys that played last year. We think we're hopefully a little bit healthier and a little bit stronger. But it was a great eye opener for our guys, and to go against that physical O-line and D-line and overall team, that was for me, it was a great learning experience for our players and our program. And we knew that after that game, we just had a sense that was a really good team. And look what they did. They went on and had a great season and won the conference. And so I mentioned it before earlier this week on the Standard. These are the champs. And so it was a great opportunity for us to measure ourselves and see how we match up to them. Last year, they got the best of us, and we know that we're going to have to play a really, really good, clean game and the type of game that we want to play. Baylor is going to have something to say against that, but that's the fun matchup of it all. We're familiar with them, they're familiar with us, but at the same time, tons of respect and appreciation for this opportunity for us to play them and looking forward to it.
Do you remember, Kalani, your best ever pregame speech where is there one that maybe you just knew you hit it?
For me,
yes, sir.
No. I just try to keep the kids loose, and I want to focus on them having fun and being at their best self and trying to make sure that they can feel good about their preparation. I feel like if I'm panicked and trying to find some kind of emotion to get them going, then it overrides all the hard work that they put in along the way. So I wanted to just remind them the work that it took to get them to where they're at, how proud I am of them, and let's go out there and have some fun, man. It's just the last second coaching doesn't work. The coaching happens for us from Mondays to Friday and then get to the game. So and it comes down to the boys having a good time. I want them to play at their best, and that usually happens when they're enjoying the opportunity to play the game.
Does last year matter at all prepping for this year?
Of course, yeah. You look at the way the players played. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Opweek is still standing there on the field, so we have to block them. So but you look at the demeanor and the way the program is run from Baylor, from what we saw, and we know that we're going to get their best shot. We just need to make sure that our best shot shows up as well, And so I think for us, there's some knowledge of what they do. Obviously, the scheme may change a little bit here and there, but for the most part, the foundation of that program is the same, and we'd like to think that we have a solid foundation here as well. And then we'll just go out there and let the players settle it on the field. Regardless of the result, there'll be tons of love and appreciation and respect on our part for Baylor and that program and definitely their fans. I've mentioned it before. We felt really welcomed when we came there and had that really cool experience, even though it didn't end up going the way we wanted it to. We were able to have a word of prayer with them on the field, and that felt really good, man. It just felt good. And the fans are great. Welcome. We had a lot of fans that visited, and they couldn't say anything but great things about how the fans welcomed them there. So hopefully we can return the favor when they come to Provo.
What are the Baylor fans who come to Provo in for who've never been to a game there?
Well, I get jealous because I hear they hand out ice cream, before the fourth quarter. So, the fans here are amazing. They'll love their experience here. You look at the mountains in the background, and it's a different part of the country. So, we're excited to have them here in the mountains and definitely in our our home stadium. It's named after a man that I adore and I love. So anytime we can get people and share the story of LaVell Edwards and then have him in a stadium that is named after him, it would be a lot of fun.
Coach, watching that game last year, there was a lot of different players to be impressed by, but certainly your quarterback, Jaron Hall. I mean, being a QB, he's going to be a headliner, but I think a lot of people saw then that, man, he's still got a ways to go, but he's already good. He's going to be, even better as he continues to play more. What did you see just as last season progressed and then throughout this offseason to where you are now with Jaron and just kind of how he fits as a leader for your program and also a great player?
Well, I think just him being comfortable in that leadership role and him being comfortable being the quarterback of the team. And, he was going into fall camp, he was battling for a starting spot. And so now it's his spot. He's had some time to gain confidence in the boys and being able to get the connection with the receivers. And then he just has a lot more comfort being the guy, the signal caller and making checks and audibles, things like that. There's a lot more freedom that our offense coordinator A-Rod gives him. And so I really believe he feels like this is his team, his offense. And I'm really proud of the decisions that he's made. And where to put the ball, with the risks to take. It's never perfect, but I'm really happy with what I've seen from him, the composure and the poise that he has on the field.
When this deal was signed for these two teams to play, this is going to be 2 games and over. And, maybe see you again in 30 years, kind of a thing because of the way college football scheduling works. Now, not knowing exactly when you'll see them again, but probably next year or the year after, is there kind of now this excited sense of this is now built the foundation of a conference rivalry to come?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. That we have an opportunity to play them again, and the fact that they're the returning conference champs, and then that we'll see them in the future. But I have tons of respect for Dave Aranda. I mean, that guy and his staff. There's something special there, And anytime we can be able to share the field with that type of program, we're really excited about it. I'm honored to be on this field with Baylor and that program. And having their fan base interact with our fan base. Hopefully this will be a great relationship, and hopefully we can get some wins along the way too. I wouldn't mind that on our side.
Kalani, yeah, that helps. It's a friendly rivalry until you start playing for championships, and then I hope it always stays that way because both of you are ranked in the top 25. The constant change that we've seen in college football for the last really couple of years, including Brigham Young and others joining the Big 12, the USC-UCLA story, the college football expansion, has it almost just gotten to the point where it's a blur of what's going on?
Well, I mean, that's the game. That's life. We adapt to whatever is out there and what's available, and we make the most of it. And I think we're in a really good spot right now, talking about our program and with our fan base. And I know that Baylor feels the same way too. So you're looking at all the changes that have happened and the ones that are in the near future. We're always going to adapt and find a way to keep this focused on the young men, the student athletes, and then for us in the football program, the young men on the field, and make sure that they have the best experience and that we as mentors allow them the opportunity to grow and become wonderful men when they leave our universities. And that's what I look forward to doing. And I think if we keep that focus in mind, then everything else will work out just fine.
Thank you for your time, Kalani. We always appreciate it. I got to say this, is that when all the changes happened a year ago and the new teams joined the conference, or at least agreed to, having you on as many times as we have has been great for us. We appreciate it. We look forward to Brigham Young and everything that you guys bring to the table, including this weekend. Thank you very much.
Well, you guys know I appreciate you, and I love being on your show. So whenever you guys need me, I'm always here.
Block my number. Block the number. Thank you. That's a really good man, Kalani Sitaki.
Game Day Live on News 10 is sponsored locally by TFNB, your bank for life, Advanced Pain Care, and Central Texas Plumbing Solutions.
I'm Carol Weaver, your local mattress expert. For 23 years, we've been selling the best mattresses at the best price on Valley Mills Drive. The new Beauty Rest Black has arrived, offering great cooling features, highly durable foams, and supportive state-of-the-art pressure-relieving springs. Beauty Rest Black is on sale now at Waco Mattress Center. With easy financing and awesome service, we make it stress-free to get a great night's sleep. I'm Carol Weaver. Thank you for your business and keeping it local.
Waco Mattress Center.
I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Is the Jeep not starting?
Token, can you please come help?
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Y'all call for a tow?
Yes.
Call Toking 24 hours a day for all your emergency roadside needs.
Hey team, welcome back to Blackmar Barbecue Tailgate Series brought to you by Game Guard and Favorites Barbecue. Today we are out at the ranch and we've got a recipe for all you Midwesterners, beer brats and beer cheese. It starts just like this.
Starting things off with our mise en place, it's essentially the game plan, the scouting report of this recipe. First quarter, we're focusing on that beer cheese. We're talking melted butter, diced shallots, and of course, cheese. Two types, sharp cheddar, white cheddar. Gotta have it. Whole blocks, we're gonna grade it ourselves. Look, I'm not the cheese police. If you want to use pre-shredded cheese, go ahead. I prefer to grade my own, and there are definitely people on the interwebs who will come after you if you don't grade your own. Hey, do what works for you. Whatever gets the hay in the barn at the end of the day. While we're here, let's go ahead and knock out our onion mise en place for the beer brats. Onions are like running between the tackles of cooking. You can win without doing it, but no one's really going to respect you. Gotta have it. Prep work is done. Let's start making this beer cheese. Diced shallots into the pot of melted butter. Favorites, all-purpose seasoning, salt, pepper, garlic essentially. Going in. Toss that up. Looks chefy. Now we're hitting it with Worcestershire sauce and spicy brown mustard. Once you've let those flavors get to know each other, we're just going to dump in that cheese. Hit it with a splash of half and half to help it melt. We're also going to go in with a little cornstarch to help it thicken up and prevent clumping. One of the stars of the show, the Alico Lager from Southern Roots Brewing. We've got to sacrifice a beer, a brewski, to the beer cheese, so I went with this elite lager. Let me tell y'all what, if you haven't tried it, you need to try it because this is a serious porch pounder. It's very good. You can drink it all day without getting full and bloated, but it has enough flavor that you can cook with it and it won't just disappear. Cooking with beer is just like cooking with wine. Cook with something you actually like to drink. At this point, go ahead and add any leftover cheese, touch it up however you like it, and make sure you get this over low heat because we're going to let it melt and simmer while we work on our beer brats. We're going old school today with the cast iron over the wood fire outside in nature. Can't beat it. Once the butter's melted, let's go ahead and hit it with that onion. Hit that onion with a little bit of Favorites all-purpose. And then I wasn't thinking it was getting hot enough, so we went ahead and got this thing down in the fire. Once those onions smell good, it's time for the brats to come in. One beer for the onion. We're going to let these brats and onions get a little sauna action, get a little hot tub action with this brewski. One beer for me.
And me.
Oh. Once those brats are looking a little gross, go ahead and flip them over. That way they can cook evenly. I like to use a meat hook to do this because I don't want to burn my delicate fingers. And also, I'm not mad if I poke little holes in it because that's just going to let some beer in there to get all happy with the brat. Once most of your moisture is cooked out, your sausages are fully cooked through but still kind of ugly, we're going to go ahead and pull them out so we can grill them off and go ahead and get the rest of that moisture out, get those onions nice and caramelized. Once your onions are pretty much looking like this and your sausages have some nice browning on them, you're in the home stretch. Time to get those bad boys off, make sure your cheese isn't burning, and let's get to work. It's assembly time. Let's play a little game called Do As I Say, Not As I Do. Here, my beautiful wife Katie got us some elite Martin's hoagie rolls. They're not hot dog buns. So we're going to go in with a layer of our beer cooked down onions, our brat, and some melted beer cheese on top. And it's elite, but the bun is a little much too big. That brat looks like, a kid wearing his dad's clothes, right? So what we did to compensate is we ate the sandwich as is, but I used the extra bun to sop up the beer cheese. That's a pro play, but what I'm telling you to do is to cut the bun in half, make 2 sandwiches out of it. And yes, a broad dog is a sandwich. We'll die on that hill another day. Get you a palate cleanser. Let's go in for that bite.
The Midwesterners might be on to something.
I'm going to have to voice over the rest of this because I got a little tongue-tied. My tongue was doing a merry jig. That bite was so good. Soft, chewy bun, crispy, juicy brat, got beer flavor through and through without being overpowering. Then you got onions and beer cheese as well. Come on now. Chef's kiss. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Tune in next week for the Tailgate series coming to you live from Game Guard Ranch.
When we come back, we'll come back with more, including updates among the top 25 in the Big 12, and also discuss BYU and Baylor, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX.
If you're out looking for a great selection of new cars and trucks, then shop Allen Samuels in Waco, because we have some of the best deals in Central Texas that will put you in a new vehicle and driving away with confidence. During the Labor Day sales event, you can take your pick, a new 2022 Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger, and receive 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days. If you're a first responder, you get an extra $500 off your purchase. High-quality vehicles from a dealership with a hometown feel. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, we're back in studio. Baylor and BYU at 9:15 Central tonight. And that game, of course, 2 teams ranked in the top 25, a game that they played in Waco last year. Baylor winning 38-24, at one point up 38-17. And last year, they ran for 300 yards, Baylor did. Last year, BYU ran for 67, 58 on the one Jaron Hall scramble. Actually was maybe a planned run by him, which means 23 carries for 9 yards for everything else BYU. I can't imagine that stat tonight, but if it is, then obviously I don't think Baylor has any problem.
Yeah, if Baylor can run the ball, they can control it like they did last year. And again, I think this game, I'm very curious to see if BYU has closed the gap on the physical nature that Baylor played with last year. If they have, it'll be more interesting. And I think Provo's probably an equalizer a little bit here, and Baylor's not been great on the road, so they've got to kind of prove those things. But I do think that Baylor can be more physical and should be more physical than them. If they get to play that kind of game, I don't know if BYU is really going to keep up with them.
If you're not as physical or more physical and you've got both your lines returning, then consider the road trip a failure. I mean, that's why you should be physical, is you've got all of your big guys back, all of them, except for one on the offensive line, Xavier Newman-Johnson, and that's basically it. Outside of that, I mean, this is what those lines are made for. Games like tonight is going on the road, mucking it up, stopping the run, and, allowing your offense to be able to run the football. So this is why you circled Baylor in terms of the preseason and the optimism, and you overlooked, okay, yeah, it's a starting quarterback who hasn't started a ton of games, and yeah, it's a skill set or skill group that doesn't have a ton of returning experience, but they've got both lines back. So I think you lean on both of them tonight. I think BYU's obviously going to, attack your weaknesses, and I think the secondary certainly got some questions that they need to answer. I think the skill guys have some questions that they need to answer. I think even Blake Shapen still has some questions that he needs to answer. I mean, let's not act like he's perfect after 3 games, basically. So, it's going to be a really interesting contest. But given that running stat, that's exactly why yesterday when the news came out about Nakua and Romney, and we said it was a big deal, and we had one BYU fan was trying to dismiss it as though, well, we had 7 guys who caught passes in the first game or whatever that number was. It's like, okay, but you mean to tell me if it's anything like last year and you're not able to run the football, you don't think losing their 2 most proven veteran wide receivers is not going to have an impact? Of course it is. So if they can run the football, then you negate some of that. But if you can't, and you're leaning on, 17 guys who caught a pass last week, but they're not to the level of those 2, then I love Baylor's chances. I mean, the only thing really stopping me from going all in on this is just the fact that it's late as heck right now, and they're not used to playing at this point, and it's also on the road in a crazy environment. I think those are what BYU has in terms of advantages, but I think a lot of the other advantages lie with Baylor.
42-34, Kansas leads at West Virginia. Up 8, and they have just received the kickoff with 4 minutes left in that one. And KU trying to get an early Big 12 win, which would be fantastic for them. Oklahoma 17-3 now in the third quarter, 4 minutes into that third quarter, 17-3. And Oklahoma State now up 14-3 on Arizona State. Jaron Hall, Blake Shapen. Hall, of course, more of the pro prospect, a guy that is fantastic, but it doesn't matter who you are if you don't have time. 5 sacks, several tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He was rushed and just constantly harassed in that game by the Baylor front.
Kalani Sitaki just confirmed no Nakua, no Romney tonight. They will not play versus Baylor.
Pete Thamel, of course, who's a pro from ESPN, that report yesterday afternoon, a little bit before we started our show at 3 o'clock, there were still some that, well, wait a minute. I don't think Pete Thamel throws that out there without having pretty much secure. But Kalani Sitaki also now with that as well. I want to get into the Big 12 and officiating. The safety that wasn't called, that's a story. It is. No matter what. Makes no sense whatsoever. But I heard Joel Klatt on Fox today, and this is something I've had a problem with the Big 12 for a long, long time. Make the call, get on with the game. There's constant discussions and meetings that seem like go on forever. There's more reviews in Big 12 games, I believe, than any other conference in America, and it seems like they take longer than all the other ones as well. It is killing the game as far as the pace of the game.
I think I told you via text that I think that's Walt Anderson's lasting legacy on the league was to overanalyze everything. If you watch a Walt Anderson game in the NFL, they're overanalyzing and overcalling and doing a lot of these things. He's not the head of officials anymore, but that has not changed in the league about them. Look, it's not only that, it's mundane, explanations for the clock stopped because there was a debris on the field. We all saw the beach ball or whatever it was, that happens. Instead of, all right, who was offside? 31? You got it? 31? Yeah. All right, offside's 31, 5 yards is first to 5.
They did do a replay on the run by the Gibbs. That was a good replay because he was short. They had given him a first down. They went back. He hadn't made it. He didn't make it again on the next play. So there are some that make a lot of sense, but there are some that just with the flow of the game, in the Big 12, it appears, that just to me wants me to pull my hair out, and I don't have enough of it left to pull out in the first place.
No, it's ridiculous, and it's been ridiculous for a really long time. I think the only reason there's maybe not as much of a focus on it is because the Pac-12 is the one that has the stereotype for having the worst officials. It's like, Pac-12 refs and Pac-12 fans know what I'm talking about. I think Big 12 fans feel the same way about their group. I certainly don't feel like we hear that about ACC officials all that frequently. We don't hear about SEC officials all that frequently. I don't think we hear about Big Ten officials all that frequently. It's legitimately those two conferences are the only times you really hear complaints about a crew of conference officials. And I would think, I say from my point of view, just on adding to what you've already said, is just because you can review doesn't mean you have to review every single thing that happens. I've seen the Big 12, the opening drive of a mundane, meaningless game. And I know, hey, you don't want to not do things that are in the rule book because, this team's expected to blow them out. But, we don't have to stop down on the second drive of the game to determine if this was a yard this way or that way, and it's 2nd and 7 versus 2nd and 6. And you take 15 minutes to do that. It's just insane. Keep the game moving and go along. And just because you have a review doesn't mean you have to take the full allotment of time. There are times where they'll review something and you watch it on the big screen from the press box. You need 2 viewings and boom, it's clear. It's clear as day whether this guy caught it or he fumbled it or whatever. They will sit there for another 10 minutes, with their front row view and every angle imaginable and what's clear as day right in front of them and still take another 10 minutes to try and get it right. I've never understood that.
The person in the booth should immediately look at almost every play.
I've never understood that.
And then if in fact, and there should never be you're lining up to take a snap and then all of a sudden the whistle blows and you go to the sideline. It should never get that way. The safety was a terrible call. Texas really, really got they got flipped around on that one. But the replays, the discussions, the meetings on simple things like procedure. If you need a number and he doesn't give it to you right away, then just say offense, procedure, 5-yard penalty, whatever down it might be. Kansas still trying to hold on against West Virginia in that game, up 8, under 4 minutes to go in that one. Oklahoma State 14-3. They lead Arizona State 2 minutes to go in the half. Baylor and BYU at 9:15. More on that. We'll also go back to Provo with Darby Brown of KWTX. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX CBS.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sikkim Bears.
When it comes to accounting or financial services, choose a firm where it's about you. At Patillo, Brown & Hill, we empower our clients to thrive and grow with a strong professional partnership that gets to know you and your business. Our longevity is a product of our top-notch team of innovative thinkers most critical problem solvers and dedicated partners who provide a clear and comprehensive plan for your financial achievement. Patillo, Brown & Hill, because it's more than numbers and data. It's about providing peace of mind.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to care for our patients to improve their health and their quality of life, whether it's the teeth, the gums, the bite, or the smile.
Because I didn't feel anything at all. When I woke up there, I had everything done. I go to the restaurant to eat, and the waitress said this, "You got new teeth." So they noticed them too. If you want something done that is good and permanent, this is the place to go.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sic 'em Bears.
Catch up on the day's news with KWTX News 10.
Hey, by the way, Josh Young and Barry Bass and Darby Brown and Chris Williams and so many others who helped put this on. We appreciate all of them for being a part of the pregame show, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. And we're going back to Provo. Darby Brown in Provo, BYU and Baylor. That kickoff's in just over an hour. I'm sure the stadium, Darby, starting to fill in just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to fill in a little bit. These BYU students are crazy. They just cheered when the BYU players walked off the field. It was already so loud. This stadium's going to be shaking tonight. It's going to be insane.
Darby, what other venue could you compare this to in Provo?
Honestly, I don't know. Nothing I've ever been to. I mean, it is really cool with the fact that the mountain is right on the back. I mean, the stadium's a little bit older, but it's nice. And just the location, you can tell they picked this spot a long time ago, that this is going to be the spot for their stadium, and it's pretty incredible.
It's at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, 63,000 capacity in that stadium, but it almost looks like it's a bigger stadium than it really is.
Yeah, I think so too. But you know what's funny is driving up, because the mountain's right behind it, it actually looked smaller. And I was almost like, hey, this looks like a high school stadium. And then you get closer and you're like, oh, okay, that's not quite. It's definitely bigger than that. But the mountain makes it a little smaller. But once you're in it, it does feel pretty big. And again, I think it's just the fact that they are already, what is that, like 3 levels deep all the way. I don't know. We're on the other side of the field here. But I mean, there's no room in that student section already.
Darby, I see some of the players out there on the field warming up and whatnot. Just what kind of a sense, if any, do you get from just the energy and the focus of Baylor football out there?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I mean, the receivers are over here making some pretty good grabs in the end zone, I would say. So they're moving around, a lot of energy. I saw some of the players walk out when they first kind of got to the stadium and just took it all in, the atmosphere and environment and everything. And I think they probably think it's a pretty cool place as well. But now that they're out here warming up, I can tell they're getting kind of focused in and ready to go here.
Darby, when did you get to Provo?
We got here around 5, and we had a live shot on the newscast at 5:03, basically. So we rolled in and hopped on the air. So we had a little bit of a delay, but we made it.
Well,
so all is good.
You made it there, and it's part of the fun, the atmosphere, the pageantry of college football. It's just, 78 degrees. I just looked at my phone, 78 degrees there. Do you feel a difference there than you did when you left Texas?
Yes, and I feel a difference from when we first got here. The temperature is dropping. When we first got here, it was actually pretty hot, in the 80s, I would say. And now that sounds about right, mid-70s. It's perfect out here. I think it's going to drop down a little bit. So some of these Baylor fans, there are some Baylor fans coming in. It might be a little chilly in their T-shirts and things. If you could see them over here in the corner, it looks like the players. But the contingency for Baylor is starting to roll in. So they might get a little chilly out here tonight unless they pack some jackets that we aren't quite seeing at this moment.
Your thoughts about Blake Shapen? His first ever really moment was on the road in Manhattan, which is a really hard place to play. We know what he did in the Big 12 championship game. And your thoughts about him, this road test that he's about to have tonight against another quarterback on the other side. How does he make sure it's just what he does for Baylor and not try to get in competition with Jaron Hall?
I think he's got to be himself, which I think he's proved so far that he is pretty good at that. He's been very good about being very confident. I remember some of the early comments when he started to get some time that he was almost just playing a little too loose even, or a little, too fearless, that he just would go next play. So I think if he can keep himself and his attitude and his confidence, that'll really help. He looks pretty locked in out here warming up.
Darby, one more thing. Obviously, some young players stepped up, and a couple of guys who have been injured, as you know. Gavin Holmes and Squirrel Williams made plays. Hal Presley made a play. How critical do you think that is for this team going forward, and the confidence now that they also gained?
So critical. I think these guys need to stay healthy. I would love to see them have some big years, especially Gavin Holmes. But having that roster healthy, keeping everybody healthy is going to be crucial, because all those guys you just mentioned, they provide a pretty big spark. So Baylor needs those guys for sure.
Darby, great job. You and Chris enjoy the night in Provo, Utah. Darby Brown and also Chris Williams with KWTX News 10 in Provo for us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. There are a bunch of Baylor fans there. Art Strickland, a good friend of ours who's a golf analyst, does a bunch of golf trips. He was up there playing golf. Ben was up there playing golf. Others have sent, Wade Barrow sent pictures as well. A lot of people sent pictures. Ashley, one of our partners, Brian Etheridge, has been up there for 2 or 3 days. Ashley was on his way, and they took their time, stopped in New Mexico. I think they probably stopped in Colorado, and then eventually Utah as well. I think there's going to be a nice chunk of Baylor fans there. Of the trips they're going to take, this is the one. They haven't played there since 1984. Why not this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not this one? This is unique. This is something that's really interesting, and it starts off in the second week. Can this team win regularly on the road? It's something they have not done, and the road gauntlet this year is at Provo, tough best place to play. At Ames for Iowa State, that's always been a tough place to play. At Morgantown, despite what's maybe going on there right now, it's been a house of horrors mostly for Baylor in West Virginia. At Texas Tech, tough place to play. At Oklahoma, tough place to play. In Austin, ask Will Anderson. He just said it's one of the toughest places he's ever played, if not the toughest. So all those are tough. That's their road gauntlet this year. And if they win those games, obviously, this is a team that's probably going to win the Big 12 going away. But it is tough when you look at it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you play the game and why you sit there and have pause when you see that road schedule, and you don't just say, like, oh, yeah, let's run it back, and there's no problem in doing so. I mean, yeah, the other teams in the league have a little something to do with that as well. A lot of them appear to be improved. Some of them appear to be exactly who we thought they were, and maybe some worse than expected. But, I mean, Baylor, from basically wire to wire now, has been considered the Big 12 favorite by a good number of people. Not saying it was unanimous, but Big 12 preseason favorites, plenty of polls. They're number 6. Was they number 6 right now? They're number 8 in the country. But they had, 2 teams in front of them lose today? So they're going to be borderline top 5 if they get a win tonight. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to play for, just bragging rights-wise, with BYU and the future of the Big 12 and all that comes with that. But there's a lot of outside stuff that also comes with a win tonight. So it's an important game. I mean, it really is. I'm not trying to be overly confident here. I just think that they are the better team. But the X factor is the fact that they're in Provo, and it's 9 o'clock at night before they even kick the football off, and it's a raucous crowd, like they said. So that's why these road games are so hard to win, and that's why they've had trouble doing it.
I did not get this. I don't know if we got this up or not, Garrett, but Baylor, since 2010, when they went back to the bowl game for the first time in forever, here is their record on the road against ranked teams. Not just on the road, obviously, because they would play many more games than that. Here is Baylor's record against top 25 teams since 2010, RG3, the year before he won the Heisman. 2-20. Even with the 13 team that won the Big 12 title, the 2014 team that won in Oklahoma in Norman against Oklahoma that won a Big 12 title, the 2019 team never played a road game against top 25 teams. Last year, 0-2. 0-1, excuse me. They lost that early game to Stillwater, which was a heck of a game. Came back to beat them in the Big 12 championship game. 2-20. That is history. That is a trend. That's not just some fluky number. They need to beat that number. They need to figure out a way to chip away at it. You can't do it unless you start winning in places like Provo. Kansas, 42-34, a minute to go. West Virginia driving, inside, I believe, the 20-yard line.
No.
Did he catch that pass?
It didn't look like it, but they're saying it was a catch.
There's under a minute to go, and they'll have to look at the replay. West Virginia down 8 trying to drive in.
Well, and they just caught it at the 2-yard line.
He caught it down on his rear inside the 2-yard line, the clock running. We'll come back and update that and more. 365 Sports, KWTX, News 10.
Touchdown.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sic 'em Bears.
When it comes to accounting or financial services, choose a firm where it's about you. At Patillo, Brown & Hill, we empower our clients to thrive and grow with a strong professional partnership that gets to know you and your business. Our longevity is a product of our top-notch team of innovative thinkers, critical problem solvers, and dedicated partners who provide a clear and comprehensive plan for your financial achievement. Patillo, Brown & Hill, because it's more than numbers and data. It's about providing peace of mind.
What sets Hillcrest Dental Care apart is our vision of how we want to care for our patients to improve their health and their quality of life, whether it's the teeth, the gums, the bite, or the smile.
Because I didn't feel anything at all. When I woke up there, I had everything done. I go to the restaurant to eat, and the waitress said this, "You got new teeth." So they noticed them too. If you want something done that is good and permanent, this is the place to go.
Central Texas Plumbing Solutions is the team you can count on to go the extra mile and resolve your plumbing problems quickly and thoroughly, getting it done right the first time. We want to wish the Big 12 champion Bears great success this season. Sic 'em Bears.
Catch up on the day's news with KWTX News 10.
Yeah, you know, you hear that term, this is why you play the games, because if it went to ratings, rankings, power indexes, or who has the most stars and blue chip players or highest recruiting rankings, then Marshall couldn't celebrate today. Appalachian State couldn't celebrate today. Kansas may not be able to celebrate today, but they're close to it. Up 8 with 45 seconds to go. West Virginia is at their 2-yard line. And Georgia Southern from the Sun Belt as well is tied in Lincoln at 28 apiece with Nebraska. This is why you kick it off and you let the games played. And we have touched on a few of them, but Marshall and Notre Dame, 26-21, the Thundering Herd win.
And that 21 was a garbage touchdown because Notre Dame wouldn't have had time to do anything after it. So, yeah, the Thundering Herd controlled that game completely. Marcus Freeman, the first Notre Dame coach in history to start off 0-3. Now, I don't know. I personally have a lot of faith in him and don't think that that's going to be indicative of his whole career, but holy cow. I mean, things get hot in South Bend really quick when you don't win.
Go ahead.
Well, they do, especially when you're hyped up the way that you are and everybody's talking about how you're the best young coach and there's, you know, the top 5 program and you're independent. You don't need to be in a like all the different things that come with the chatter about Notre Dame and their greatness. And yeah, then something like today happens, and you see how shaky that can be. And you know, again, it goes back to college football probably has more talk off the field about their brands and more wins off the field for brands than any other sport out there. And yet, when you actually go play the game, it's pretty fun to see what can actually happen when things aren't even necessarily equal. But I don't want to see I really hope I don't see a bunch of college reporters who were all anti-playoff last week and talking about how these teams don't belong and all that, sit there and turn around and start talking about how college football is all great and everything in terms of this is why we watch. And yes, it is. And that's why it'd be cool to see, I don't know, an App State find themselves in a playoff spot, even if that would mean total demolition. You just never know until you get out there. Brutal loss for Notre Dame. I mean, they don't have very much going for themselves offensively whatsoever. Obviously, you know, got to see a couple different quarterbacks today and even gave themselves a little bit of a chance at the end, but hats off to App State. Incredible win.
Who had the worst loss today, A&M or Notre Dame?
Oh, I mean, that's about the same, right?
Well, I know, but
Notre Dame's actually made the playoff and actually been there in that mix. And the fact that, you know, they do have a bunch of other tough games coming up. So does A&M. But I think, you know, Notre Dame, I don't know. I just don't think you were expecting that one, even with the App State Michigan thing from years and years and years ago. That was shock. Or excuse me, App State and
Michigan.
Michigan, yeah. That's you know, even with that years and years ago, you weren't expecting that today for Marcus Freeman.
So Texas Tech wins in double overtime against Houston. had the lead, blew the lead, then looked like they were dead to water. 4th and 20, they convert in overtime, eventually win in double overtime. Oklahoma's separating from Kent State. Oklahoma State, pretty comfortable lead against Arizona State. TCU's up 35-7 early against Tarleton State. And then this game with Kansas and West Virginia, my goodness, it's been a good one in Morgantown with 38 seconds to go, and West Virginia is at the doorstep.
I was right. I was meaning Marshall beat Notre Dame. I was saying this. I knew I said App State wrong. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, Marshall. Kudos to Marshall for their win over Notre Dame.
Well, and when you look at what Notre Dame last week was getting kudos for, keeping it tight against Ohio State. And then to turn around this week and lose to Marshall, I mean that's harsh.
It is. It's why they play the game. Alabama, Texas. Bama was a 3-touchdown favorite. 3-touchdown favorite, and they are very fortunate to get out of Austin, Texas, with a win. But they did. They found a way to win the game. In Texas, of course, waiting. Looks like Ewers is out probably for a short amount of time. There was thoughts it could be longer, but maybe a week or two. Let the press conferences on Monday or other reports that come out kind of decide what's going on with that as they go on. How about Jeff Traylor and UTSA at Army, down 14, came back. They've go overtime to win the game against Army. They have Texas and Austin next week.
All right, so West Virginia scored. They're down by 2. They got to get 2 to force OT. This is kind of a nerve-wracking thing, but if I'm Kansas, this is for me, I'm just like I got to make one play. That's it. One play and the game's over. I guess 2 if you don't want to. You got to get an onside kick. But right now, one play and then the game, as opposed to that's why it's kind of, if you give up a touchdown when you're up 8, that at least is the cushion that maybe makes it better. But
Lance Leipold, I'm telling you, man, that you could just see them. I know a lot of people still think that they may win a game or two. I just like the way they play. It's not fluky. They've gotten more physical. They've run the ball well today, and would be a huge win for them. It would be a terrible loss for Neil Brown and company if they don't after the loss to Pittsburgh last week. Also, the video of Jerome Tang. Do you have this? Kansas State winning, and they blew out Missouri. Former Baylor assistant coach and now K-State head coach Jerome Tang in the stands at Kansas State with the students. That's great. Right in the middle of the craziness at Bill Snyder Stadium, Jerome Tang in Kansas State. He does a segment, by the way. He's got a couch out in front of what I think is either the student union or in front of their arena, where he has students just come up. They give him a wireless mic, and they can ask him pretty much any question.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty good way to get involved with the student body.
Known him a long time. That's not a surprise to me that he wants to do those things. He's as cool and, approachable a human being as there is.
Yeah, the other part of it is Coleman from Memphis, by the way. Good to have you. Coleman from Memphis, he's a huge Texas fan. He was devastated earlier this afternoon because the game didn't finish very well. He went inside of a liquor store to get a bottle, and it was an Alabama fan that was the one at the counter who gave him a discount. And there, of course, Balcones from Waco. Thanks, Coleman from Memphis, for sending us that picture. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to come back.
West Virginia just tied it up on a 2-point conversion with 35 seconds left.
42 apiece.
My sunshine pumping wasn't good enough.
When we come back, wrapping it up, KWTX News 10, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the city of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, West Virginia, Kansas going overtime. Texas Tech won theirs in double overtime. Final thoughts, Paul and Craig.
I think Baylor wins this game pretty. I'd not say pretty easily, but I do think that they win this game with a little bit of distance at the end, just because no Puka Nacua, no gun around me. That changes everything for that BYU offense to me.
I had them winning before those injuries, and I have them winning even more assuredly now. I not disrespecting BYU by any means. I'm sure the road crowd and the road environment and the late kickoff will all play into it, but they're the number 8 team in the country for a reason. And yet we've seen all of these top 10 teams getting beat up today, or top 25 teams getting scares or getting beat. So, you can't hang your hat on that, but you got to go out and prove it. And I think that this is a team that if you had a different head coach maybe, or somebody who's not as zen and focused as a Dave Aranda, I'd be more worried about it. But there is something to those road games, so it's time to break that streak, and I think they do that tonight.
All right. By the way, in the chat room from Brian Plato, someone should tell the big Power 5 schools to focus more on winning games than switching conferences or NIL deals. We saw a little bit of that today. Whether that was the distraction or not, I don't know. Brush off adversity. Prevent big plays on defense. Patience on offense, the keys to the game. We'll see if that happens or not. All right, a lot of people to thank tonight, including Garrett Ross. Appreciate that. Jack McKenzie and Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Thanks to Darby Brown and Chris Williams in Provo, Utah at Lavelle Edwards Stadium as well. We'll have evidence tonight after the 9:15 kickoff. It is Baylor and BYU. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and KWTX. Good night.
At Dr. Smiley, you are always our top priority. Dr. Lee, Dr. Lim, and the friendly staff are committed to delivering exceptional and professional care in general, family, cosmetic, and emergency dental services. Get $24.99 implant, abutment, crown, 3D CT scan, and consultation. Dr. Smiley accepts Medicaid and most dental insurance. Call Dr. Smiley today at 254-732-2606 and book your appointment today.
Grassroots is a community builder through community engagement and homeownership. Our community engagement efforts seek to help neighbors connect, lead, and advocate on behalf of their community. Our homeownership efforts provide financial literacy, affordable home building, and home repairs that lead to the building of generational wealth.
We need $2,000 per family to provide matching funds towards purchasing a home.